All right. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Souls in the Simulation podcast. We are your hosts, Devin and Angie, and this podcast provides an alternate view on life after death, processing everything that's wrong, and possible solutions on how to get it right in the afterlife.
Well, it's morning here, so I'm gonna say good morning here and good evening to Ola. Ola has decided to come back and brave round two with us. So Ola, welcome to the show, and I'd say show, but it's just a video really. Thank you so much for coming back.
Absolutely. Hello, everybody from Norway again. And thank you so much for having me back. So really excited for tonight.
How's your weather there?
Well, it's a fully blown winter
Yeah.
now. So, and not only winter, but we are in the dark. Well, that I don't want to go into direct translation from Norwegian, but it's the polar night, which, by the way, is a bit misunderstood, at least where I am, and pretty much all the way on the continental Norway, because it doesn't mean that it's dark all the time. It's just that the sun is under the horizon, which still means we do get a little bit of daylight, not sunlight, daylight, just maybe for 2 hours. So yeah, but that's pretty much, so it's behind me, it's my balcony door, so my window is now playing a mirror because it's just dark all the time.
Oh wow.
Well, not all the time, but pretty much, almost. So, and if it's not dark, it's just gray. So yeah, winter, fully blown. I just been up north, even further up last week for a few days, which was well, soul feeding trip for me, and that is the real winter, minus 23, minus 25 degrees.
Wow.
So yeah, that's where you can really feel
That's
it.
cold.
Yeah.
That's cold. I've told people negative temperatures is a whole different ball game. I've been up into like Wisconsin and stuff like that in the dead of winter, and my first experience up there with the negative temperatures, I've told people you will literally get ice crystals around your eyes when you're
Yeah,
outside for a little bit.
that's
Like
that
it's
can
cold.
happen. That can happen, and one thing that probably people don't know is that I have a habit of running around with wet hair. I just can't be bothered to do my hair. So if I wash my hair, I will go out, and usually I have a hat or something. But out there, minus 23 degrees, minus 24, I went out with wet hair and it froze instantly.
Oh, I believe it. Yep, I believe that for sure.
So I haven't even experienced that because up where I live we maybe get -8, -10. Because it's on the coast, so we are still getting much warmer influence from the Gulf Stream. But inland, when you go inland, you can hit -30, -35 easily, and they get that there. Not even far from here, you just have to go a little bit inland. So that's a little bit of a different experience. But to be fair, if it's dry, then it's not that bad. It's the wet. If it's quite wet and very a low temperature, then that is terrible.
Oh, I bet.
Eats
Yeah.
through you.
It's hard to breathe the air too,
Yeah,
because it's
yeah,
really,
it's a
yeah.
it's a different experience, but for some reason I feel very drawn to the north here, where I live, and it's been quite contrast for me because in the first 2 weeks of November I was on the island of Madeira, so that's Portugal island on the Atlantic, so still enjoying quite a good summer out there, even though it's pretty much moving into the winter season there as well. And then from there, I came back into Norway, right into snow and into this proper winter here. And I thought I was going to have a really tough time acclimatizing back here, but it was actually amazing. It shows me that there's something very deep about the winter season when you are ready for it, because I think most of the people here, they complain about the winter and the dark times. It will kind of get to you if you don't want to face yourself, don't want to really well, perhaps look at certain things that you should be looking at, and you just keep running from yourself. It's going to be miserable. But if you can
I
you know.
imagine so, yeah.
Yeah, and I quite like doing that, you know. So for me, it's just such an amazing place and time. Yeah, probably this is the strongest experience of that kind that I have ever had, and I've lived here already for 9 years up north.
Very well. That's awesome. I mean, I've heard you speak of the area up there. It's kind of
Yeah,
it's definitely got its own energy that resonates with
yeah,
you. So, if I ever get to a place where I've wanted to go, at least see it once, and so
yeah.
if I end up in a better place physically at some point, maybe I'll make my way up there.
Yeah, I certainly um, recommend, you know, to anybody, because especially here up north, we have the indigenous areas. We have, I would say that the energy is quite primordial. I always say that, and what that means and what it does to you is slightly different to a lot of kind of, you know, go out of town places anywhere around Europe. I don't really get that kind of sensation in Poland, where I'm from. I've been to England. I've been, I mean, travel wise, you know, I've been a little bit around, including the places that get a lot of spiritual marketing around the world, and I've been to some of them, obviously not all of them. And I honestly, I can tell you that it's here that hits me the most.
That's amazing. Well, and we speaking of stuff that hits you, we were talking a little bit before the podcast about we were asking Ola about transits because there's transits going on, and I don't want to answer for you, but you could touch on that a little bit because your answer is going to be very brief. And then she also started talking about we just had eclipse season, and we could see them here in the U.S., which was what was that, Devin, around like September-ish, right? That all that was going on.
Yeah.
And we had all kinds of craziness. You had several countries working to overthrow their governments. France was one of them. Um, and so I'll let Ola take it from there in terms of people following, if they're following the energies and not realize what they're doing, I'll just let you take it from there.
Sure. I mean, we did have a chat, and you know, that might surprise some people, but I always say, and I always recommend not to follow, not to follow the moon phases. Don't pay attention to the moon. The eclipse is not a great time, you know, especially in the Babylonian times, back in the Mesopotamian, Sumerian times, the eclipses were considered evil times, evil moments, because especially when the moon was eclipsing the sun, right? So when the sun was becoming fully invisible, because you see this is where the information is leaking, right? That the moon is not positive. The sun has always been the positive influence, the moon not. So when the moon is getting in the way and eclipsing, so covering, right? So we cannot see the sun. That has always been considered as a bad omen, and a sort of bad influence, because the moon is sort of taking over the light from the sun. It's almost like it's
Mm.
absorbing it, and nothing is getting to the earth, or well, it is, but you see from the perspective, right? And so the way the eclipses have been perceived is that depending on where you are, if you are able to see the eclipses or not, that area becomes affected the most. So, but you know, I would say most of all that there are so many things in astrology and numerology that can be tracked, that at some point, you know, you could literally explain absolutely everything by some kind of influence, some kind of transit, or the eclipse, or you know, looking through the lens of Babylonian astrology, or looking through the lens of Vedic astrology. You will always be able to kind of moonwalk back into some kind of astrological influence, or anything like that. So you know, is that real? Yes, it is real, but I always say our, you know, the whole point, right, escaping the matrix, is not to deliver against the plan of these archons, the plan of the gods, and astrology is effectively explaining how these plans are unfolding, but to escape these influences. So me, uh, myself, I don't follow the moon. I don't know what phase it's. I mean, I was driving today, I saw I saw half of it, right? Funny enough, it was 12 o'clock midday, and I, there's no sun, but there's a moon up there, massive. So I don't follow the influences. It doesn't affect me. The moon, for example, as in the full moon, etc. No, that's been a long time since I've ever seen any difference in myself, for example. I don't really follow the eclipses either. I don't follow the transits. I mean, of course, I know how to check and see, but in terms of, I'm not saying that if you don't follow, it doesn't affect you or it doesn't affect the collective, but the point is that the more we are living and sort of looking at astrology as a orientation tool, we are still very much giving that matrix, that whole system, that machine, power over us. It's almost like we are agreeing to the rules of the game.
Mm.
Maybe it's time to step out of the game.
I
Yeah.
agree.
What about but okay, sorry. There are some transits though, like Mercury retrograde, and it happens 4 times a year. And during that time, it's like a really bad time to make contracts and agreements. It's a bad time to like try to create anything new in your life. For that, you just say like, or for instances like that where it might be, um, it might be beneficial in a way to tune into it. You just say completely like stay in your own lane and stay focused on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Stay in your own lane. First of all, if we are talking about the influences of the planets, if I have to go there, then remember that the planets that are closer to the sun, right? Their influences, it's almost like the influence is kind of increasing with the position. So Mercury retrograde is not, I mean, okay, they say, right, that it does all these things, but sometimes I feel that people who notices the most, or people who claim it to be the influence, are the people who are constantly watching it. I don't really have instances where things are breaking at a special time, at a certain time period, and I just do my thing, I just live my life, and that's the whole point. And I'm not saying that just living your life is fixing astrology influence. It is not fixing the astrology influence, but giving it attention and kind of playing into that mechanism is not a good idea. And yeah, I know I'm speaking totally in a different way than astrologers. I am not an astrologer. I know astrology, I know numerology. I do not call myself an astrologer. I did not come here to advocate for people to be following astrology. Quite the opposite. I came here to tell you that this is the code of the matrix, and there's nothing positive about it, about that influence. So yes, I understand that it gives people some kind of orientation, but it is orientation how to play within the prison.
Mm.
It doesn't tell you how to escape. It tells you how to stay and play. So you choose.
Yeah.
So
And
the
you
so
know,
the
this is
program.
the I think, sorry, just to finish that, because I think this
Sure.
is one of the things that I very often don't speak about, and I think it needs to be spoken about. You have to remember that, I'm sorry, but that's the truth. The amount of people out there that are aware that there is a matrix, that they are aware that there is some kind of mechanism that controls this reality, is not very high. And unfortunately, that also goes for astrologers. So majority of astrologers out there have no idea about the matrix. They have no idea about the fact that we are caught here in a certain controlling mechanism. They still believe this whole new agey Dolores Cannon, Earth is a school narrative, which is very, very dangerous. And they still will be telling you that all this is happening for your own evolution. That's one of the most dangerous narratives that can be propagated out there.
Devin, were you going to say something or ask a question?
Um, it was more so getting into like escaping the matrix, but did you have any before?
I was just going to, I guess it kind of follows that same direction you were going
Yeah.
because in terms of when we're born, right? So, for example, I'm like, what is it? Like it's like sun sign is Sagittarius, Cancer rising, and I can't remember my moon, which I don't know that it matters,
You had an
but
Aquarius moon.
yeah, that's right. So what you're saying is if you as an individual and even as a collective, as we if we buy into that and what all that entails, we're kind of playing into it, and so we should just
Well, what I'm saying is not to pretend that if you stop looking at it, then that disappears, because it doesn't disappear. There's something else that goes on here, which is, what you just said, right? All the kind of birth data and the ascendant, the sun sign, whatever. There's so much more, by the way. That's
I
that's
know, yeah,
that's just the basics. That it's like reading a barcode. So this matrix, upon incarnation, it kind of needs to track you in some way, right? It kind of needs it gives you a passport, right? It needs to give you a document by which it can identify you, and it also dumps on you a code that you are going to play out in your life if you buy into that, right? It's a code that it plays out for everybody, and that code can be read through astrology and numerology, right? So this is how it works. So denying it or pretending, or that astrology doesn't exist, that's not what I'm talking about. But when you actually live your life according to the prognostic astrology for you, then whose plan are you fulfilling? That's the plan of the matrix for you, which is, by the way, a plan full of what? Well, upheavals, challenges, lessons, karma, right, as they call it. I mean, look at your life, right? Probably going back from childhood, it wasn't all rainbows and unicorns. It was a tough life, right? It was experiences, quite a lot of them. Probably if you have enough insight, you will recognize that certain things happen as patterns. So you kind of go through something and then it comes back in another shape, meeting the same people or experiencing the same things. It just going on and on and on. Well, all that is written in your astrology, right? All that is written in your birth chart, and then it will play out in your life. And of course, the influences of the planets through the transits are going to accentuate certain aspects, or they're going to kind of put you through certain trials, because that's the energy. It kind of pulls out certain aspects from your chart to the front line. So my point is, not ignoring, as in, I'm going to pretend astrology doesn't exist and then I'm out of the matrix. No, you're not. No, you're not. But when people actually pay so much attention to it, and they go and they have their charts read over and over again, in especially the predictive astrology, right? Like, tell me what's going to happen to me, tell me what my life is what's going to happen, how the next 2 years is going to look like for me, etc., etc. And also, following the influences of the planets, and then kind of almost, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If you read, oh, this and that transit is happening, then I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't be doing that, I shouldn't be going into this, or there's going to be something bad happening. I am signed up to some Vedic astrology websites where I had to put in my details, of course, full details, and they send you once in a while, every few weeks, so on. They send you some kind of forecast. They send you like a little snapshot of what you can get if you pay some. It's not even a lot. And what I've noticed, that it's all wrong. Not all of it, maybe, but a lot of it is wrong. A lot of the times when I get this doom and gloom, watch out in this month, you're gonna experience this and experience that. It's not good for this, it's not good for that. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Why not?
mm,
Not because I ignore it. No, not because I ignore it. Because there's probably 80% of population that ignore astrology and numerology because they think it's just stupid, right? And yet they probably are hit the hardest by the exact astrology and numerology, because it's not about ignoring, but it is about actually doing something else. And this is where the alchemy comes in. And by alchemy, feminine alchemy, so literally the nature of a woman.
Oh, hold
Yeah,
on one
a little
moment.
bit. Yeah.
It kind of went out for a minute. Could you repeat that? It was the alchemy of a woman.
Right. So
Mhm.
when I say alchemy, and sometimes I just shorten it to say alchemy, and I should say feminine alchemy. By that I mean the way a woman is constructed on a physical, psychological, spiritual, emotional levels. Obviously that goes also for a man, but not in the sense, not in that alchemical sense, because our hormones are different. So when I say alchemy, I'm talking hormones. I'm talking about down to the very biology of our bodies. Our bodies have been equipped to in sort of by following and knowing, being aware of certain things, we can escape these influences. And that's pretty much what I have been talking about for the past few years.
So is doing like, aside from which I know that your perspective is the feminine alchemy, um, that's the only way to avoid the programming of your of
I mean,
the
I would say that, because I don't like when feminine alchemy, the term, is being almost perceived as some kind of philosophy or a concept or a potential path to follow. It's a little bit like being a woman is now considered a concept or a path or a thing to choose, or being a human. No, feminine alchemy is just, it's biology. You cannot, biology is not one concept out of many to potentially follow. It is what it is, right? Whether we want it or not, we are built in a certain way. I have, by the way, if somebody, I mean, of course, there's only so much we can go into here, but I have a whole, I have 2 webinars specifically on this topic, because this goes down to our DNA. It goes down to the hormones, because these literally at that level, our bodies have been affected by this matrix. That goes to the whole chakras, and how the energy flow in our body has been compartmentalized. Made it, and how it has been hijacked, and also sort of connected to the planets and to the star signs as well. So literally our bodies, the very super machine of our bodies, have been affected. And this is by design. This is not my theory. Look into the ancient texts. We are being told about it openly in the Bible, for example, right? This whole notion of what Yahweh does to Adam and Eve after she disobeys, and then they both disobey. So what specifically is described there is genetic intervention into our DNA, and that very highly advanced genetic intervention is at such level into the DNA, into our DNA, is at a such level that they are able to switch off certain aspects within the DNA and sort of replace that with certain level of programming. So if you live your life sort of on autopilot, you are naturally going to be reacting to the influences of the zodiac, to the influences of the planets, which can be translated through numerology and astrology, but it doesn't have to be that way. And that's the whole point. That's the whole aspect of escaping the zodiac. And when we read in the Gnostic scripture that Jesus casted out 7 demons out of Mary Magdalene, right? I'll argue that it was the other way around. What does that mean? Everybody's talking about it. Nobody knows what that means. Well, funny enough, 7 demons, as in what? 7 chakras, as in the way things have been captured and infiltrated within us. and can that be, what does it mean that he casts out the demons? Does he specifically do something, or does she do something, or is it more about certain rites of passage? So understanding certain things at a certain level and knowing how to how to tweak that within, and how specifically, because you see what we're talking about when you look at the DNA, right? DNA is not physical. DNA is effectively energy. So emotion is also energy. So our DNA, how it is being sort of tapped, and how the gods intervened. They intervened in a way to keep the DNA, and hence the way we operate, and the food that they effectively get from us at a very low vibrational state. So to keep us in a certain emotions, because the low vibrational emotions, the fear, dread, depression, crying, all these things, shame, guilt, right? The favorite emotions that keeps us and our DNA in a very, very low vibrational state. Specifically, the mitochondrial DNAs, they get, that's the sort of nuclear power of the cell, and of the that's the mitochondrial DNA. It's like I say, it's a little bit tough to kind of condense that into a paragraph answer, but there's been research done by this lady who used to be, she used to work on the DNA, and then she kind of left the industry. She was working for the medical field. She was for the big pharma, effectively, and her name is, if only I could remember now, she wrote the book. She wrote the book recently. This book was released this year about 12-stranded DNA. I think her surname is Remenikova. She's Ukrainian, but she lives in the States. So you can look up the book. I don't remember the title exactly. And mind you, I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it from my perspective. There's a bit of a new age in the book mixed with, I think the scientific side is very sound, but it's going to blow your mind, because she used gematria to expose certain things about the DNA. I think that the problem is she misses the point a little bit in the conclusions, because she's getting literally a confirmation that our DNA has been programmed by the gods, not gods, and so that's the archons, right? So to answer the question, how do we escape the influences? How do we get out of the matrix? You have to go after the DNA. You have to go after the DNA, but not through the mind. This is not about some kind of meditations and visualizations, etc., etc. It's literally clean up the low vibrational stuff in your body, so that things can start operating at a higher level. That would be the easiest answer that I can give you, or maybe the most watered down, but still kind of holding a little bit of the essence that I can explain sort of quickly during the show.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Wonderful. I looked at that book and it's called Activating Our 12-Stranded DNA: Secrets of the Dodecahedral
Perfect.
DNA for Completing Our
Yes.
Human Evolution.
Yes.
And it's by Ruslana Remeniko. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that,
Yeah,
but if you,
Ruslana, I can help you because
yeah.
I'm just next door there.
Yeah.
Ruslana Remenikova.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so she's a scientist. So this is where science crosses into the spirituality, and proves certain things. And I like that
Mm.
book because, like I say, I used that book. I made a lot of references to that book, because
Mm.
it's this is where you're starting to get evidence of the things that, for example, feminine alchemy has been talking about for thousands of years.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. So activating the 12-strand DNA. So you believe in, after, having all your research and reading this book and everything, that it is possible to activate more than just the
I mean, let me just be clear. That book came out just this year. I think it was in January. So I read that book, and to me, it was just a confirmation. I haven't arrived at conclusions based on this book. And mind you, I have no connotation to this lady. I just accidentally ran into the book last year, just before it came out. And so it's just cherry on top. It's just yet another confirmation about what I've been trying to explain. I also like the fact that she goes into the dodecahedron in terms of how the DNA is built, because dodecahedron, funny enough, does not actually, you cannot find dodecahedron anywhere in the nature, which is very weird. Dodecahedron is just, it's one of the kind of shapes. Yeah, let's call it, just to be easy on it. You cannot find that shape anywhere in the nature. And everything else, right? Everything else in nature, fractal construction. So there is like multiplications of things, the microcosm and macrocosm. So we can see things multiplied in different versions, right, of it. But dodecahedron, nowhere in the nature. So how is it possible that it's supposedly in our DNA? Because our DNA has a static, it's been reduced, it's been collapsed into a static DNA, and then it becomes a dodecahedron. But if you actually activate it into what it originally was, the spinning, right? So the vortex, it becomes a spiral. And a spiral is another story. But when it collapsed into a static version, that's the intervention by the gods. This is literally the physical evidence of the intervention. This is precisely an scientific explanation to the line in the Bible, or to the whole passage in the Bible where Yahweh punishes Adam and Eve and the serpent. So he casts the spell on the serpent, because serpent represents something very important here. He says that the serpent will crawl, and crawling is not very fast. So what is the serpent? Well, the serpent, funny enough, that's the connotation to the DNA. So originally the DNA would have been much more dynamic. There's much more movement, there's spin in the DNA, and that has been collapsed into static dodecahedron. So we have lost the abilities, and we were then able to be captured into the zodiac, as in the influences, right? Because you see, through our nature of our bodies, and especially the woman, how woman alchemizes things. Woman naturally transforms and transmutes. She transforms because she is an alchemist through the body. I'm not talking about some kind of witchcraft or anything like that. I'm talking about natural capacity of our hormonal system. A woman alchemizes, which means she takes the low vibrational content and she turns it into higher vibrational. She takes lead and turns it into gold, alchemy, right? So a woman naturally, if she was fully in that alchemy, if she was able to access the very nature of our construct, we would be naturally, without even thinking about it, transforming low vibrational energies into higher, such as illusions and lies, into truth, meaning this matrix would not be able to be created. This prison would not be able to last a day, because a woman, that's how we are constructed. We would transmute that illusion energy, that kind of lie energy, the low vibrational energies, fear, etc., etc., that would be transmuted. But so for that reason, they had to make it impossible for women to access that very capacity. And that's why the intervention into the DNA had to happen, not once. I hope that that's kind of, I try to explain the as much as I can into a condensed version.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's like you were saying, it's a lot of information that would be hard to. I know we've had a couple of people from the previous interview talk about, and I mean, it's not pushback or anything because I get what you're saying. Like that is the alchemy for while we're here in this. But my one of my questions is outside of this realm, what does gender really matter? Because I think of like you're an engineer, and I think you can respect this perspective, but electricity doesn't have a gender. So outside of here, does outside of the matrix, is
Outside
that
of
really,
work,
pardon?
outside of work.
Outside of the matrix, beyond what we truly are, what would gender matter in that regard? I know what you're saying. It does here. I know why you're
I
saying
mean,
it does here, but I mean, does it matter beyond? Because
well, I don't think it does only here, because I think that, you know, there is a creative, I think we're kind of mixing biology with philosophical questions and perhaps some other things which from my perspective, that's two different things, because, you know, whatever somebody wants to identify as, or whatever goes on there, unfortunately, the biology of the person, right, including the physical sort of body, it is what it is. You know, a man does not have the womb. The man does not have breasts. And of course, there's all sorts of interventions these days that can kind of change that.
right,
But to begin with, the man's hormonal system is not does not contain the same hormones, the same endocrines, etc., the same chemical composition, and in the same sort of the same levels as the woman. So there is a function division based on that. And I think that, you know, that there's no need to go into the philosophical questions whether somebody wants to feel like a man, like a woman. That's a separate story. Or whether, you know, they feel that that's not the point. The point is the vehicles that we are equipped with as women or as men are specifically prepared for certain functions. And I'm not talking about delivering babies, because that's just very little of it, but I'm just saying that there is a difference. There's a biology-based difference, including the level of hormones, the type of hormones, you know, the cycles that we operate on. Men don't operate on a monthly cycle. They operate on a sort of daily, as in 24 hours, and that's kind of steady. Men do not really operate on the three cycles like a woman: maiden, mother, and the witch. So there's clearly something that women have been specifically equipped with that men have not. And this is not to say that men are worse. Men have been equipped for absolutely other things that we are not equipped, or it's best if we don't go there, because it kind of kills what we are here, you know, equipped for. So
right.
that's the only thing that I am interested from my perspective, or I think that's the only thing that matters from this perspective.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay. So I did want to, I don't know if this is what you just said, but I am curious to know a little bit more about your thoughts on the male's role. Because, you know, I feel like the woman can sit and she can create after what like the man does the action, right? He brings to the table the thought or the I guess the woman is actually the idea, the creation of that, but then he turns it into like a reality. So I kind of wanted to get more of your insight on his role, or even they can how they can overcome all the systems in place, and also ways they can also activate their DNA.
Well, this is the funny thing, because in all systems, right, there is a very clear, albeit hidden motive of activation of the man by a woman. So a woman that anoints a man, which is the theme obviously Mary Magdalene and Jesus, but not only that, Inanna and Dumuzi. So there's always a woman, Osiris, Inanna. There's a woman that activates a man. There's a woman that needs to, that's her role to, for example, navigate the man through the underworld. She navigates a man through the resurrection. She navigates the Osiris, Inanna, right? But not only, Mary Magdalene and Jesus. So there is a theme of, what is actually available for the man, and how much of that is relying on the feminine, I would say, on the sort of feminine aspect. And so the role of the men has always been about protection and creating the right condition for the woman to step into what she is effectively equipped to do. And I think that especially I think recently in the last 50 years, somehow that role seems to be less and less attractive. And now I think men are trying to desperately enter, the fields that used to be women's kind of. By fields, I don't mean jobs. I mean fields as in, for example, a woman, because of our, again, biology, we have been always the shamans, the witches, the healers, etc. But men have been desperately trying to enter these as well. And there were times back in a day where if a man, it was very well understood that the powers of a woman in that kind of area, in that capacity, are much higher than a man, because our hormonal system is charged 1,000 times higher in that capacity than a man. So I'm sorry, but people would laugh at a man trying to be a witcher. So if people wanted something changed, or if they wanted some help, they would rather seek out a woman than a man, because her powers were considered much greater than the man. So men were more considered the ones to create the right conditions, to take care, to protect, to defend, to effectively also execute that which woman is connected and taking the sort of information about. I love this scene from the movie 300, if you remember. I don't know if did I mention that last time, or
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good movie, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, that scene between the queen and the king, when the messenger arrives and the king wants to basically kick him into this bottomless pit, right? Before he does that, and he knows that is going to start the war, and the war is very likely already lost, right? So this is a situation with no way out. But before he takes that decision, he turns around and he looks at the queen, at his wife. And only after she nods, he turns back and he kicks him in. So this, I think this is a perfect depiction of, what's the dynamic? The woman is the one connected. The woman is the one who has that spiritual oversight. Why? Because that's how we are built. That's why when we talk about intuition, we're talking about the female intuition, right? The woman's intuition. It's like the woman just knows. We don't say, the man just knows. We say the woman, she just knows, right? A man is more in that execution, in that physical realm. A woman lives and operates in that spiritual realm.
So does this trend, I get, and again, I'm just kind of, so from life to life, as we get reincarnated here, could you, as a woman, I'm a woman in this lifetime, could I have carried over masculine traits that end up taking more of a priority from those past lives if I were a man in a different life? Like how does past lives, or do they even play a factor in
Well,
this?
I will speak the language of the teachings of the feminine line, which is that the past lives, can we prove it? Can we disprove it? You know, people can believe all sorts of things, and of course, I was there myself. It's exciting to kind of try to find out, or for someone to tell us what we were in some past life. But the feminine line says that actually the whole subconscious is an implant, and all the past life, whatever, it doesn't really matter whether even there, or are we implanted with memories that seem like this is a past life memory or past life imprint. Does it even matter? Does it even matter what it is? What matters is here and now. This is what we are dealing with. We are dealing with whatever, whether that comes from a past life, whether that comes from some kind of programming, whether that comes from a trauma, whether that comes from 10 past lives, something that we cannot prove or disprove. Does it even matter? So to me, it's more about, okay, this is what it is in this life, and whatever. Is it causing an issue in life, or is it okay? Just live your life however you feel is best for you to be happy. I think that's really the only thing to say.
I brought it up because I was curious if that could play a role in, I
Well,
mean,
I,
again,
I think,
I don't know
that
either.
the key for me here is that, well, what if I say yes, or what if I say no? Neither of those can be proven or
Right,
disproven, right? So
right.
it's, does that, and there's plenty of people watching it, probably, who are also drawn to, who I was in the past life, or, I have this fear, or I have this tendency, maybe it's a past life, maybe because somebody in the past life did this and that, maybe, or maybe not. You will never know 100%. It's one of them things, right? That cannot prove, cannot disprove. And there's a lot of people making big money on things that you cannot prove or disprove. So
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for
feminine
sure.
line sticks to what do you know, and where are you now? Now you are here. And it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter because like I say, the only thing is when you start working with that deprogramming, but you see, not deprogramming through some kind of therapy of replacing one program with another, but literally exposure back to the real signal, the field signal, back in the nature, going back and letting, that's the shamanic way. A lot of things naturally get sort of fixed or healed. I don't like that word, but healed as in, people can have traumas, or people can have some programs, or whatever. All that, you don't have to work through that like in a therapy. Nobody ever did therapies in shamanic societies. That's not how it works. So there is an element of us being so disconnected from nature, from spending time in the nature, from understanding the influence, that the healing influence. Maybe I shouldn't say healing, I should say resetting to original, factory settings.
Right.
um Getting rid of that overlay, wherever it comes from, whether that's a past life, not a past life, who cares, but it resets you to you, whatever you are. And I think that's the only thing that matters.
Yeah, we definitely have to deal with our current situation for sure. I think all of us can agree with that for sure. Devin, did you have any other questions, Devin?
Um, on that, no, not for that. Um, no. Did you have any questions about what she talked about? I'm trying to think. Um,
Just the one I just
that you
asked
said.
about the,
Yeah, yeah,
because I know some people might have questions about the reincarnation part of it. That's why I asked. So
yeah. Yeah.
I'm not just for the record, right? I am not denying reincarnation. That's a fact. Yeah,
No, I
reincarnation is
get
a fact.
you. Yeah.
So it's not, I'm not saying that past life, we didn't have any past life. What I'm saying is that there is a very high likelihood that memories that we think we have from past
Oh,
lives,
yeah.
that can be implanted, that can be
Sure.
imprinted, that can be that it could have been anything. I'm not saying that we didn't have past lives. It equally, we cannot say who is here for the first time and who has been here, for 1,000 times. I don't know.
Right.
We will
Right.
some of those things, and I know that people claim to have insights and whatnot. You will, okay, if it's easy for you to live with that, great. Again, another thing that you cannot prove or disprove. Does it really matter? What matters is here and now to me, right?
Yeah,
And
I
that,
no, I agree. I totally agree. And I some of the questions I ask are some things that I think other we might get in the future that
yeah,
while we have an opportunity for to come for
absolutely.
you. So that's kind of but yeah, I think it is critically important um to
I
deal with the
think
life that you're living.
if I may just add sort of one thing on that, because I know that it may sound a little bit underwhelming as an answer, like, why isn't she going into all these theories and all that on purpose? Because you have to, on purpose, as in, do we really want to believe in these theories? Do we really want to spend time creating all these narratives and possibilities and exploring them and spending time on that? I mean, Matrix wants us to do that. Matrix wants us to do that. They want us to stay in our head, chasing answers to questions that potentially we will never find answers to, but we will spend time, right? And that's another distraction strategy, right? Don't pay attention and do the things that you should be really focusing on. Go and chase whether the earth is flat or round. Go and argue with these people as well. Go down 50 million rabbit holes and then come out and find out that you actually, you already, you still know as much as you did before you went in there. Maybe you know some details so you can polish the
Hmm.
bars of the prison from inside, but you haven't changed your position. Nothing's changed.
Right. I agree. Yeah. My whole thing here lately has just been the longer we do this, that I'm just out of here. That's my intention.
Yeah.
And
And
I'm
and
not
see,
gonna,
nobody said that actually getting out of here has something to do with saturation of information,
right.
right?
Yeah.
As in the more you will sponge in, the more likely you are to get out. I think that there is a certain threshold, or there is a certain sort of level of information or insight that we need. But I think that after that, it's a matrix trick that pulls us into chasing more information, where actually that's not the way.
Well,
That's
what I keep finding after guest or book after book that I read, it's getting to the point for me where I'm like, why am I doing this? Because quite
yeah,
frankly, if I get told on the one hand from everybody, and even those of us within who have this viewpoint, we're so powerful. Well, we're obviously not, because if we were, because what I keep finding is people will make your mind up and just do it. Okay, well then I just do it, and then you'll have somebody say, but then you got to watch out for this. Well, then we're not powerful. Oh, well then you got to watch out for this. Well, no, we're not powerful. Oh, well, you know what? And
well,
before you know
I
it, you're
think,
just adding thing after thing after
yeah,
thing, and it's like, okay,
but you
well,
see, this is the thing that I have seen plenty of people saying these things and saying that, we are powerful and all that, but they actually tie it up to the wrong things, or they try to explain or navigate you out of here through that mind-based approach, as in, you need to do that, but you need to be worried about that, you need to pay attention to this, etc., etc. That's false. That's not the way out. The way out, it's not about my opinion. Opinions don't matter. We already know We already know there were people before us who already worked this out, and they have coded that knowledge into myths, into legends, into oral tradition, and into shamanism, etc. And I know that it's been watered down, and I know that it's been tampered with, and right now it's kind of like, blind man walking, trying to pull it all together. But the answers are there. We don't have to invent any knowledge, and it's actually much more easy than what we think. And I'm not telling anybody go within, although that's what that's kind of what you need to do. But I'm saying that there are answers that are very specific about what to do, and what are we talking about here. But it is not the mind based practices. This is not about you need this never ending spiritual development, and you need to watch 50 podcasts every week so that you will sponge in all this knowledge and then you will be enlightened. That's a lie. That it doesn't happen that way. No.
I agree. I agree. What do you think, Devin?
I agree. I agree too. I think we can get lost in trying to heal everything that it really takes us away from
Yeah.
the present moment. So I think it's just something we have to watch out for because there are so many people trying to sell us different healing modalities or classes or all these different things, and it's just takes away from that. The
Yeah, and you see, I really like to go back to the original shamanism. I think that the word healing has been hijacked, or perhaps it has been misinterpreted somewhere down the line as literally somebody having the ability to come and fix you, or something like that, when at best they can create conditions for you to drop the matrix infestation. They can put pressure, they can help you, they can sort of press in the right points that are ready to crack. That's about it. And in shamanism, right, the whole shamanic path has never been about some kind of chasing the spiritual development and answers, etc. It's always been about the shaman going out into the nature, or not just the shaman, but the person, and being hit by the nature intelligence, as it later gets called spirits, but it's kind of nature intelligences or the field intelligences, and it cracks their matrix infestation. It cracks, it collapses that infestation. It literally changes the architecture, the inner architecture, because we are infected. Everybody's talking about the matrix being out there. Matrix is here. We are in the matrix. Matrix is inside of us. We are infected. Our original essence has been overlaid with this matrix coding, which manifests through traumas, through patterns, conditioning, programs, etc., etc. So that needs to be cracked open so that you can again have contact with what's real underneath it. And that has been the true shamanic path. It was never about talking it out in a therapy, etc. That was something that happened when people went and face their biggest fears. For example, when people went out into the nature, into the wilderness, and maybe sat there for hours or for days. And it's not something that this is not a restaurant that you go and you order what you want to heal today. It just happens. You get hit and you don't know what's gonna crack. What's gonna crack is whatever is gonna crack. It's not a decision. So that's the aspect that's actually, funny enough, not in our control. But this is what people, most of those people out there trying to sell you coaching and healing and everything, this is what they miss. Because the real the sort of the real thing is free.
Well, I think as far as I get the whole sending you out in nature where you have to be on your own. And you might disagree with this, but I would argue that my illness that I'm dealing with is doing just that. That's how I came to all of this. It's not, um, I went from being atheist, within the span of 5 years, I went from being atheist to new age to within recent months realizing, and it's been all of the all the rabbit holes I went through as a result of what I'm going through right now. Um, and trying to seek answers and of it and like even seek like is there a meaning to this lie, all that kind of stuff, all the stuff that goes into through the process of what you're talking about, because I imagine somebody out in the middle of the wilderness is going to go through much quickly, but they're going to go through that same stuff
Mm.
and come out the other side of it realizing. So I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, but I think we can use things in our lives to get to the same place when it's because it's cracking you open to face things.
I think it depends. I mean, to me, the most important thing is the results, you know. I think people focus too much on the process and trying to defend the process. Show me the results. Show me that you're living your best life. Show me that you everything with you is, you know, fine. Show me that you are in the right place, right? If that's the case, then who cares about the and you know, yeah, it can be a little bit tricky because people can think about all the millionaires out there that have this fancy amazing life, right? Well, they are deep into the matrix, but we know, right? We know that the all the material things are another matrix kind of lure and all that. But like I say, it's all, to me, it's all about results. If you are living a life where you can really say that you have come back to yourself, you're in a good place at, you know, all kind of levels with yourself, then great. But if that's not the case, then perhaps you know, there is a trick being played which tells you that, you know, the path of seeking answers through, you know, research and this and that, that is the right way. Maybe it's not.
I would agree with, because you end up exactly where you began.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, you know,
You
that
go
happened to
forward.
me, for example, to quite a large degree at the beginning of COVID, right? Because when this whole nonsense started in 2020, I think that was such a massive moment for everybody to start going down the rabbit holes, right? And we've been digging down the rabbit holes for a year or two. And yeah, it is, you know, I think it's useful to for orientation, to know what's going on. Okay, I don't want to use, you know, those phrases because you may get taken down, but you know,
Right.
it's good to know your things, you know, what's going on in this world, how it's truly built and all that. But then as you start digging and digging and going deeper and deeper in all these rabbit holes, you come back not knowing really more, but being just more confused and just feeling like I've just done a massive circle. I've just gone around a massive circle. Like I have not made a major breakthrough. I might know a little bit better, you know, down this conspiracy, that, you know, that aspect, this aspect. I might know a little bit more, but it hasn't changed anything. It hasn't changed my life. It hasn't changed my life. As in, I am still living the way I'm living. I'm still struggling with whatever I was struggling. So something is off. This is not the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most people don't wake up to that though, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to mention going down those rabbit holes. I mean, uh, I feel like you can just get so stuck in like one set of beliefs because um, over the thousands of years, it's just they've become so everything has just become so much more, I guess, than people can just get stuck in those mindsets. I know I've done that before when I've tried to explore things more, and then I get just stuck in one set of belief. Um, so I had a couple more questions about the 12 strand DNA. And I was curious, what all do you think is possible? Do you think it's possible to activate all 12 strands? And then
Yeah, of
if so,
course.
yeah, you think so? Okay.
Yeah, of
And then,
course. I mean, this
yeah.
is, you know, we have to stop looking at it as science fiction. You know, this women all over the world uh who, you know, up until the 70s or 60s, they these are not women that you would see on TV, right? But there were women out there, and up until now, right? Alchemy is not some kind of fantasy that I'm talking about. Alchemy is absolutely something that is available for women, and it's coming back, and women need to remember that. What's available within it, it's parthenogenesis, for example, which is precisely how a lot of the Bible figures were conceived, or that's the whole notion of immaculate conception. That's parthenogenesis that we're talking about. We're talking about perfect health. We're talking about non-aging, or kind of a woman getting she kind of chooses almost like a stage of her life, and then she her body starts to regenerate, and that those kind of cases, they were known in the 20th century, for example, where women from the area of the current sort of Ukraine, Russia, Poland, you would have women that, well, they would get to the age of 40, 50, they would still look 30, 35, and they had to move. They had to move, and they would move deeper into Russia. They would move into Siberia. They would move somewhere else because it was starting to look suspicious. It was starting to look weird. So in order to escape any suspicions and potentially some kind of governmental tracking of that and curiosity, they would move somewhere where they were obviously not known, where there was no sort of way to track back how old is she really, and they would continue their life there and potentially move again, or decide that this is their time. So these things were absolutely in control. We have stories back from wartime in Poland, where those women that were in that alchemical power that they had, through the very genius of their body and access to that full capacity of their system, the DNA, they were, well, basically, the people were not hungry. There was nowhere to go shopping, because that's not how it worked back then. But during famine, during war, they were able to feed their children throughout the whole time. They were able to take care of the villages, the farms. That also included some kind of level of safety. So, for example, the bombs would have been landing to the west, to the east from their village, but not quite there. The armies would have been moving around, but they would not come through exactly those areas. So these women were absolutely amazing, and these are the stories of our grandmothers, great grandmothers. This is not a fantasy, that I read about in some kind of books from several thousand years ago. This is a reality, and of course, in the indigenous cultures, probably some of it remained untouched for a very, very long time, and right now it is coming back. But the reason it is coming back, I talk quite a lot in some other videos about it, why it comes back, and how do we know it's coming back. And this is one of the reasons why there is such a strong, I would say,
Oh, hold on, you froze. Oh, and the video went off.
No way, really?
It did, yeah. It's just
Oh my God, do
giving.
you want to know? Do you know what's weird? Do you want to freak out right now? Look at your text. I said, let's wrap up.
Oh,
can
And
you hear me?
yes, yeah, you're back now.
yeah,
You're
I
back.
was
All
like,
right, I
that
don't
was
know what happened.
weird.
Okay, okay. I
You
don't know what
flipped
happened
it,
either. Your video and your audio just went out.
everything flipped out.
Yeah, it just said that something happened with my microphone, but nothing happened with my microphone. I don't know. But I don't know even where I was, but I think I was talking about women back in those days. So yeah, the time right now is absolutely coming back for women to step back into that power. And this is why the craziness that we are seeing, this is very, very a big part of it. The craziness that we are seeing around us is on purpose. It's targeted, and it's been going on for thousands of years, but it kind of accelerates, and it specifically responds to that very shift, especially from 2017, whereby this is to stop women from reconnecting to that power, from reactivating their bodies to that capacity. So part of the craziness that's going on out there, part of that mind-based programming and the mind-based direction towards, you need to study, you need to find out more, you need to go down the rabbit holes, you need to understand everything, you need to use your mind, you need to, all these masculine mind-based practices and theories and narratives that are being pushed on women on purpose, because the more women are in that kind of behavior, the more they are disconnected from their bodies.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. With how, all of that. I had another question. Can you think of any public figures that we might know of that have activated their 12-strand DNA?
I don't think first of all, if that's happened, a person who truly did that will never tell you that.
Yeah.
Because this is, this is, first of all, if somebody is looking for publicity and talks about it, about themselves, then they are very far from it, because then they're still looking for some kind of recognition. So if there is anybody who claims to have activated their 12 strands DNA and claims to be highly alchemical, then you should think the opposite.
Good point.
Yeah. Okay.
Because those kind of behaviors are driven deeply by matrix. This is deeply seeking recognition, seeking to feel special, which is precisely what this matrix is built on, right? Status, being someone, meaning something, all these things that matter. How about just, doing your own thing without anybody knowing?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Okay.
Probably unexpected, but yeah.
No.
It's, it contradicts the very premise.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think it wouldn't be so outwardly to you'd want to display those things.
Well, you wouldn't feel the need to be talking about it, right? You're like,
Yeah.
oh, look at me, I'm so special, I'm so amazing, I'm so alchemical, I'm so fabulous. I mean, what does that sound like? That sounds like Matrix speaking. You just do your thing.
Yeah.
Nobody needs to know unless you're looking for recognition, right? Unless you're looking for standing ovation. So those women that are actually in that, you can only guess.
Yeah.
But they will never say that about themselves.
Okay. All right. All right. And so, Angie, do you have any questions?
No, I was just going to ask Ola, do you still do, not the quote astrology, but do you still do readings for people not readings, but you know what I'm
Yeah.
referencing,
The
like
birth charts.
okay,
Right.
because
Yes,
I want to make sure that we put that on there,
sure.
again.
I still do those. I don't know how long I will continue with those, because I feel like this is the time that it's time for changes. So I don't know how long I will be doing them. As of now, I am still doing them. I also have some webinars and courses that I have delivered over the past 2 years, and I am not one of those people that is going to be doing endless webinars and making people pay for the same content. So what I had to say, I've already said. It is in the, I think, 6 webinars that I have put out. That's it. And you have all the answers there. Right now, I will be running a 50% offer on those because I've heard a lot of people who would love to have access to it, but they kind of feel that perhaps they're struggling financially. So I will be opening that up for people on a limited time offer, as in you have to kind of watch it within a month. So, but it will be available if somebody wants to look into that. I would strongly recommend that if you really are serious about going deeper into what I've been sharing today, don't book a consultation with me. Go and have a look at those webinars, because if you book a consultation, you're gonna get an hour with me. If you get those webinars, you're gonna get 25 hours of content.
Oh, okay.
I explain deeply. This is like, it's 6 webinars. You might have, maybe some of the people watching might have already bought some, but you can still complete the whole series. You can add the other ones. And I would say that probably that's the best value for money.
Okay, very good. Well, and we'll have links like we did with the other video. We'll have all that stuff on there. So, but we've been going, well, way over an hour. Devin, did you have any more questions or anything for Ola?
I think you did such a good job today, and thank you so much for coming on our show and
My pleasure.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're really grateful for you coming back for a second round. I really appreciate it.
No, absolutely, my
Thank you.
pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no worries. And hey, try to stay warm up there in Norway, huh?
Absolutely, right? It's not that bad, apparently.
I know. All right. Well, thank you so much, Ola. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
Bye,
much.
everybody.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.